Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss some questions and answers of Nelson Mandela. But before that, I would like to say you that first read the whole chapter of Nelson Mandela carefully, then try to understand all the difficult words or phrases that are in Nelson Mandela. After that, learn all these questions and answers. So let's start our beautiful session. Okay? So what do you understand by apartheid? Apartheid का मतलब क्या है? The answer is apartheid is a political system that divides people according to their race. In this system, black colored people in South Africa are not free even to discharge their personal and social obligations of being parents, sons, and husbands. So apartheid system क्या है? This is a political system where you know that South African people were separated according to their race, and in this system you know that how the white color people discriminated the black people. Okay, so they can't also fulfill their obligations of being parents, sons, and husbands. Okay, do you understand? Then move to the second question. What is the dream of Nelson Mandela for the future of South Africa? So साउथ अफ्रीका के लिए नेल्सन मंडेला का ड्रीम क्या था? In his address, Nelson Mandela sees a bright future of the country. He promises that under his presidency, the country shall never face the oppression of one by another. It shall progress and progress further. The sun shall never set on its freedom. Freedom shall rule. All people shall be free to do what they like. So, you know that in his speech, Nelson Mandela had set a bright future of his country. Okay? So, what he had dreamt? क्या ड्रीम किया था? He also taken some pledges. So what is pledge? You know that he had promised, he had taken pledge. So you can write uh, uh, the word which you like, that is pledge or he promises. So what he pledged? क्या उसने pledge किया था कि the country shall never face the oppression of one by another. So oppression, you know that the white people were oppressing whom? The black people. Okay, and he promised that this type of oppression will never happen again. Okay, so and what are the other dream that he had seen? He also seen that he also dreamed that his country shall progress and progress further. Then the soul shall never set on its freedom means the sun shall never set on its freedom. फ्रीडम का जो सन था कभी अस्त नहीं होगा एंड फ्रीडम शैल रूल. फ्रीडम अभी रूल करेगा. ऑल पीपल शैल बी फ्री टू डू व्हाट दे लाइक. सो all people of South Africa now are free to do whatever they like. Okay, then move to the second question. Third question. Can you say how 10th May is an autumn day in South Africa? So 10th May कैसे autumn day हुआ South Africa में? So let's understand. As South Africa is in southern hemisphere, you know that South Africa is in southern hemisphere. So May falls in the autumn season. That's why 10th May is an autumn day. Okay, then move to the fourth question. Why was the 10th May 1994 a red letter day in the history of South Africa? History of South Africa में 10th May 1994 क्यों एक red letter हुआ? So आंसर में हम लिखेंगे कि 10th May of 1994 was a red letter day in the history of South Africa. It was the day when the hated regime of apartheid came to an end. So जो hated regime of apartheid था, apartheid का जो system था अभी खत्म हुआ. A new democratically elected non-racial government and Nelson Mandela was to be sworn in. Many international leaders and dignitaries came to pay their respect to the new government. Okay, so this is the answer. कि रेड लेटर डे क्यों हुआ 10th में? क्योंकि 10th मे में क्या हुआ था कि जो रेशियल ऑपरेशन था, रेशियल सेग्रीगेशन था अभी ख़त्म हुआ एंड नॉन रेशियल गवर्नमेंट एंड डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट स्थापन एस्टेब्लिश हुआ नेल्सन मंडेला के अंडर. सो दैट्स वाई 10th May 1994 was a rare letter day in the history of South Africa. Okay, do you understand? Then next question 5. How does Nelson Mandela define the meaning of courage and the brave man? The answer is, according to Nelson Mandela, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. In the same way, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Then number 6. What are Mandela's opinions on the freedom of the oppressor and oppressed? Do you agree with what he said? What are the Mandela's opinions on the freedom of the oppressor and the oppressed? So मंडेला का क्या ओपिनियन था जो ऑपरेसर एंड ऑपरेस लोगों का फ्रीडम को लेकर उनका क्या ओपिनियन था? डू यू एग्री विथ व्हाट ही सेड? सो डू यू एग्री? Then answer is, according to Nelson Mandela, it is not only the oppressor but also the oppressed who need to be liberated from the clutches of inhumanity. Adding that if the oppressor is a victim of discrimination, the oppressor is a victim of inhumanity, and that he too needs liberation from prejudice and narrow-mindedness. You know that the black people were discriminated, and here the oppressor, that is the white people were the oppressor, and who are the oppressed people? That is the black people, the people of South Africa. So they were the oppressed people. And how the oppressed are how the oppressed are, have not got their freedom, because they also have the victim of inhumanity, and that they also needs to be liberated from prejudice and narrow mindedness. Okay, so जो white लोग थे वो तो ऑपरेसर थे, एंड उन लोगों ने जो हार्टेड का जो नैरो माइंडेडनेस का एंड प्रेजुडाइज का क्या प्रिजनर थे, इसीलिए वो लोग भी इस नैरो माइंडेडनेस से भी फ्री होना जरूरी था. ठीक है. सो जैसे कि हमारा ब्लैक पीपल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का विक्टिम हो गए थे, एंड they were very much oppressed by the white people. Like this, the white people also, they need to be liberated from what? From the clutches of inhumanity. Inhumanity से भी वो लोग फ्री होना जरूरी हो गया था. So Nelson Mandela has talked all this about oppressor and the oppressed. Okay, so move to the next question. That is question number 7. Based on your reading of the lesson, what can you infer about Mandela as a father and as a leader? So now कैसे वो फादर की तरह अपना ऑब्लिगेशन निभाना चाहते थे, and how as a leader वो कैसे निभाना चाहते थे, हम देखेंगे. So answer is that Mandela was a loving father. He wanted to provide everything to his family. Not only this, he was a great leader. He had also feeling for all his countrymen. So he gave up his family for the greater cause of gaining freedom for his countrymen. So what is the answer? You know that how he loved his family very much. He wanted to serve his family, but to serve the country was very much necessary, and that's why Nelson Mandela gave up his family. उसने अपनी फैमिली को छोड़ दिया, and he sacrificed his life for his countrymen. उन्होंने अपनी लाइफ को सैक्रिफाइस किया अपने कंट्रीमैन के लिए. Then question number 8. So what does Mandela mean when he says that he is simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before him? This is a very important question, so try to understand this. So यहाँ मैं नेल्सन मंडेला क्या बोल रहे हैं कि ही इज सिंपली द सम ऑफ ऑल दोज अफ्रीकन पैट्रियट्स. इसका मतलब क्या है कि सम ऑफ ऑल दोज अफ्रीकन पैट्रियट्स. So the answer is, when Mandela says that he is simply the sum of all African patriots, he says that this freedom they have got is not just the effort and sacrifice of one person, but it is the result of just joint efforts and sacrifices of all those South African patriots who even sacrificed their life for the country. So you know that जब कभी फ्रीडम फाइट होता है तभी वन पर्सन का जो एफर्ट होता है, it is not sufficient. So many patriots give their contribute their life for the freedom of their country. Like this in South Africa also, not only Nelson Mandela had given his effort, but also many great men of his country had sacrificed their life for the freedom of his country. And by saying this also, he is paying respect to those patriots. So you can also write that sentence, that by saying this sentence, he is paying respect to those patriots. Okay, then question number 9. Okay, so let's move question number 9. What twin obligations does Mandela mention? So twin obligation क्या था? Mandela mentions that every man has twin obligations. The first is to his family, parents, wife and children. So first obligation क्या था? अपनी family के लिए, parents के लिए, wife के लिए and children के लिए. And second obligation क्या था? Is to his people, his community and his country. Okay? Second obligation क्या था? ये अपनी country के लिए. Then move to the next question. Describe Mandela's life journey from a prisoner to the first black president of South Africa. So in this question, you have to describe how from a prisoner, how he became the first black president of South Africa. So the answer is Nelson Mandela did a lifelong struggle against racial discrimination in South Africa. He had to pass many years of his life as a prisoner in the jail. At last, the first democratic elections were held in South Africa. His party won 252 seats out of 400. Okay, you have to remember this number, that is 252 seats out of 400. So उनका जो पार्टी था 400 सीट से 250 सीट में जीता था, एंड ही बिकेम द फर्स्ट ब्लैक प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ साउथ अफ्रीका. ऐसे ही वो फर्स्ट ब्लैक प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ साउथ अफ्रीका बने थे. ओके, देन नंबर 11. व्हाट डिड द स्पीकर वांट एज ए स्टूडेंट? जब वो स्टूडेंट थे वो क्या चाहते थे? एज ए स्टूडेंट ही वांटेड फ्रीडम ओनली फॉर हिमसेल्फ, द ट्रांजिटरी फ्रीडम ऑफ बीइंग एबल टू स्टे आउट एट नाइट. सो ट्रांजिटरी फ्रीडम क्या था कि व्हिच इज नॉट लॉन्ग लास्टिंग. ओके, एंड he wanted to stay out at night, read what he pleased and go where he chose. So उनका जो भी मन कर रहा था मैं वो कर सकता हूँ, ये उनका क्या विश था. Then number 12. How did Mandela understanding of freedom change with age and experience? So this is also very important question. कैसे चेंज हुआ उनका जो फ्रीडम का एक्सपीरियंस, फ्रीडम को लेकर जो एक्सपीरियंस था, कैसे चेंज हुआ एज एंड एज को लेकर. As a child, Mandela used to believe that he was free, but when he grew up, he understood the system prevailing in South Africa. जब वो छोटे थे तभी उनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि फ्रीडम क्या है, एंड उनके लिए फ्रीडम क्या था. यू नो दैट यू हैव रेड इन योर बुक. बट जब जब जैसे वो बड़े हुए तब उन्होंने रियलाइज़ किया कि साउथ अफ्रीका का प्रिवेलिंग कस्टम क्या था, वेयर वाइट पीपल वेर कंसिडर्ड सुपीरियर्स एंड यू नो दैट ब्लैक पीपल वेर कंसिडर्ड इन्फीरियर्स. Then gradually he understood that it was not just his freedom which was being curtailed, but every black person of the nation. So now he understand that how all the freedom of his people were being curtailed, and how they were ill-treated by the South African people. You know that you'll be surprised to know that there were many regions in South Africa where every place was defined or divided according to the race. So if there is a water tank, there was a separate tank for the white people and there was a separate tank for the black people. So like this, and you know that how Gandhi ji was कैसे गांधी जी को भी ट्रेन से निकाल दिया गया था. Okay, as a black people, they say that you don't have the right to go in the first class bogie. Okay, so the next question, how did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life? How did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life? So this is also a very important question. कैसे उनका जो hunger for freedom था कैसे उनका life change कर दिया. कैसे Mandela realized that it was not just his freedom that was being curtailed. उनका ही freedom curtail नहीं हुआ था और restricted. Okay, curtail का मतलब restricted, but the freedom of all blacks. So freedom of all the blacks, all black people का freedom भी curtail हुआ था. This changed the fearful man to a fearless rebel. So you have to अंडरस्टैंड दिस दैट एक फियरफुल पर्सन को कैसे वो रिबेल बना दिया था. एंड फियरलेस रिबेल. ओके, रिबेल का मतलब क्या है, जो क्रांतिकारी होता है. सो ही वर्कड डे एंड नाइट फॉर इट. ही अंडरवेंट फिजिकल एंड मेंटल टर्चर्स. ही सैक्रिफाइस्ड द कंफर्ट्स ऑफ हिज फैमिली. ही जॉइन्ड द African National Congress. So all these things happen as he understood that how the freedom of all black people were curtailed. So you have to understand all this. Then it was for obtaining freedom for his own people. His hunger for freedom changed him into a great man, a statesman, and a visionary. Okay. Again. Let me see. It was for obtaining freedom of his own people. Okay, so all these things he has done for the freedom of his own people. Okay, then his hunger for freedom changed him into a great man, a statesman, and a visionary. So this is right. Okay, then number 14, why the phrase twilight existence is used? Because the people of color lived. Okay, so twilight existence जो phrase है क्यों यहाँ पर मेंशन किया गया है? सी those colored people who dare to live freely mean to are considered rebels. So you have to understand this, that what is twilight existence. Okay, those colored people who dare to live freely meet or are considered rebels. So जो लोग freely रहना चाहते थे वो उन लोगों को rebels माना जाता था. कहाँ पर? साउथ अफ्रीका पर. Such people either had to live a life in the dark forest hiding from the government security forces or were imprisoned. एंड उन लोगों को जंगल में जाकर रहना पड़ता था, जैसे कि हमारा इंडिया में हुआ था. यू नो, दे कुड बी किल्ड एनी टाइम. Hence, the life was like a twilight existence of secrecy and a rebellion. I think you should. I think you would have understood this question. Okay, so twilight existence का मतलब क्या होता है? कि उन लोगों को जो रिबेल लोग होते हैं उन लोगों को डार्क फॉरेस्ट में छुपकर रहना पड़ता था. एंड एट एनी टाइम देयर इज ए क्या थ्रेटनिंग था कि वो लोग मारे जा सकते हैं, इसीलिए वो लोग ट्विलाइट एग्जिस्टेंस में रहते थे. कैसे? ऑफ सीक्रेसी एंड रिबेलियन. ओके, then number 15, what did Mandela mean when he mentioned an extraordinary human disaster? What is the glorious human achievement he speaks of at the end? So what did Mandela mean when he mentioned an extraordinary human disaster? Extraordinary human disaster का मतलब क्या था? एंड व्हाट इज़ द ग्लोरियस ह्यूमन अचीवमेंट दैट ही स्पीक्स अप? एंड एट द एंड वो ग्लोरियस अचीवमेंट के बारे में बताया था. एंड क्या था वो? सो व्हाट इज एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमन डिजास्टर? बाय एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमन डिजास्टर मंडेला रेफर्स द प्रैक्टिस ऑफ अपार्थाइड इन साउथ अफ्रीका. साउथ अफ्रीका में जो अपार्थाइड का सिस्टम चल रहा था इसको एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमन डिजास्टर बोला जाता था. ड्यूरिंग दिस देयर वाज ए रेशियल सेग्रीगेशन बेस्ड ऑन कलर एंड the blacks suffered a lot. So what happened during those days? During those days, there was a racial segregation. Okay, racial discrimination था. And इन सिस्टम से क्या हुआ था कि जो ब्लैक लोग थे वो लोग ज़्यादा सफ़र कर रहे थे. सो एंड यू नो दैट हाउ नेल्सन मंडेला sacrificed his life. And at last, by the effort of all the patriots and Nelson Mandela, South Africa got freedom on 10th May 1994. So what is the glorious human achievement? जो ग्लोरियस ह्यूमन अचीवमेंट था वो क्या था? द ग्लोरियस ह्यूमन अचीवमेंट इज दैट ए ब्लैक पर्सन बिकम द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ ए कंट्री वेयर द ब्लैक्स आर नॉट इवन कंसिडर्ड ह्यूमन बींग्स एंड वर ट्रीटेड बैडली. जहाँ की जो ब्लैक लोग थे उन लोगों को ह्यूमन के तरह ट्रीट नहीं किया जाता था. उन ब्लैक पर्सन से एक लोग क्या हुआ कि साउथ अफ्रीका का प्रेसिडेंट हुआ. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली ग्लोरियस ह्यूमन अचीवमेंट दैट नेल्सन मंडेला इज स्पीकिंग ऑफ. ओके, देन नंबर 16, व्हाट डज मंडेला थैंक द इंटरनेशनल लीडर्स फॉर? सो उनको लोगों को क्यों थैंक बोला है? Mandela felt privileged to be the host of the nations of the world because not too long ago the South Africans were considered outlaws. He thus thanked all the international leaders for having come to witness his investiture as president, since this event could be considered as a common victory for victory, peace, and human dignity. So, हम समझेंगे कि क्यों इंटरनेशनल लीडर्स लोग जो आए थे कहाँ पर, ये जो सॉरी साउथ अफ्रीका के सॉइल पर, उन लोगों को क्यों उसने थैंक किया? क्योंकि इससे पहले साउथ अफ्रीका वाज आउटलॉस, मीन्स दे वर ब्रोकन ऑफ द डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशनशिप विद द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड. इसीलिए वहाँ पर कोई भी इंटरनेशनल लीडर क्या नहीं आते थे. एंड अभी जो डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिश हुआ है नेल्सन मंडेला के अंडर, इसीलिए सभी इंटरनेशनल लीडर अभी साउथ अफ्रीका आए हैं. क्यों? इस सेरेमनी में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए एंड नेल्सन मंडेला को बधाई देने के लिए. सो इसीलिए नेल्सन मंडेला ने क्या थैंक करे हैं इंटरनेशनल लीडर को. ठीक है, देन नंबर 17, सॉरी 18, Would you agree that the depth of oppression creates height of character? How does Mandela illustrate this? Can you add your own examples to this argument? This is also a very important question. You should remember it. Okay. I agree with the statement that depth of oppression creates heights of character. Nelson Mandela illustrated this by giving examples of great heroes of South Africa who sacrificed their lives in the long freedom struggle. India is full of such examples, like the British continuous oppression made many ordinary person to a brave hero of India. Our freedom fighters risked their life and finally we got freedom. सो यहाँ हम इंडिया का भी एग्जाम्पल लिए है कैसे महात्मा गांधी जवाहरलाल नेहरू सुभाष चंद्र बोस दे ऑल्सो हाउ दे सेक्रीफाइड their lives and how an ordinary person become a brave man and they also fight for the freedom of our country. Like this in South Africa also, as they were oppressed by the white people, they also sacrifice their life and they fight for their own country and at last they got freedom. So these were the 16 questions that I have discussed, and if you can't understand any question, then you can ask me in the comment section. And if you don't understand, sorry, please like, share and subscribe my channel.